Well, hello and welcome back. My name's KIERON Seamons. This is my inky world, and we are putting an auction together of original artwork and some signed books and prints this week. And I thought it would be rather lovely to do one of my first ventures into the ink drawing, Cat. A very, very special book for me, as it contains one of my favorite drawings by myself. This is one of my favorite drawings, as it was the beginning of using ink and watercolor. I love that. It was called Bitch Cat, but I don't mind. So let's sign a cat. You ready? Let's do it. So why is Cat so special? Why is it so special to me? It was a beginning when I was beginning to start to use ink, and indeed a dip pen. It was very early on, and there were some things going on. I'd done a lot of kids' books, and I wanted to do something that would break away from those kind of very cutesy characters. And I came up with this character called Cat, and Cat was a big bald. Here he is with these big balls, and it became a very wonderful book, and it really also taught me a lot about watercolors, and it was a lot of fun to draw. There he is. It was a lot of fun, and it really explored a whole new world of ways of drawing. I'd always been very, very careful about my drawing, always very lovely. From the days of working in animation where everything had to be so perfect and precise. And let's see if I can get that in. Squidge over a bit more. And I thought I would break away and have a little bit more of a looser ink style. And Cat was my first venture into that, and it was a lot of exploring, a lot of play, a lot of finding who he was. So let's see if I can remember how to draw. Let me have a quick look. Let me just have a quick reminder. Okay, yes, okay. I wanted this shape, and the shape that Cat was this one ear bigger than the other. It was kind of like this, and it kind of gave me this kind of odd kind of shape. I don't even know if this will, how it will be on this type of paper. Hopefully it's okay. And he had this kind of one big ear, and then there's one kind of smaller ear. And the idea was that he was this super strong cat that had been kind of thrown away, and he had been saved, and he had been thrown in this kind of alley. He'd been thrown in this kind of lake, this kind of river, stream. And what it had done is it had turned him green, and that was his kind of special. And I loved the idea of this cat being this kind of crazy kind of character, very super strong, and he was not a cat, but a cat, as in K-A-T. And I was very pleased with it at the time. And the cat was something like that. And it also kind of got me into this kind of new feeling about drawing, that I could all of a sudden draw freely, and I wasn't restricted by perfection, as so many days, as a young animator, you go through all your drawing, and then you take your drawings to a director or a senior animator, and who would basically rip them apart. You'd just be like, look at this line, look at this line, this is badly drawn, this is bad. And you would spend hours and hours fixing things. And it was a very, very difficult learning curve. For a young animator who everything was done on paper and pencil, and things had to be so perfect, so precise, and you were kind of being judged by amazing artists, which also made it very difficult. These, kind of looking back on it, they were kind of like minor gods, these people that could draw so well, so amazingly well. And so this was my first kind of freedom. This is my first kind of breakaway. And Cat was the first. And it started a whole love with ink and watercolors, and a kind of a more loose style. It was a style that really I had loved from a childhood. I had loved and admired a lot of styles like that. The first probably would have been Gerald Scarfe, with all of the Pink Floyd, The Wall, and all of that. And I was a great admirer. My dad used to buy the newspaper, and Gerald Scarfe at the time used to do a lot of illustrations in the newspaper, and I remember he used to cut them out and stick them in this big kind of scrapbook. And it was a beautiful. I came across this drawing of he had drawn Richard Nixon as a dying elephant, and I think it was probably one of the first drawings that impacted me in a way of, can you draw that way? Is it allowed to draw that way? I had never seen anybody draw that way before, never use ink that way before, and it was quite incredible. It was quite a shock to see something so, well, I mean, looking back at it now, it's not very wild, but as a child, seeing this was shocking. I mean, it really was quite eye-opening. And it led me on a path, and the path was obviously at the time was Pink Floyd, The Wall. And again, it was that sequence where the two flowers kind of make love, and then they eat each other, and it's very kind of, well, again, as my young tender self, it was quite gruesome and quite shocking. So Cat was my first step forward, and actually thinking about it, this is the first and only signed copy of Cat. So for you kind of collectors, this will be a rather special one, because I had been asked to sign it before, and I just never really got round to it. It just never really happened. I just never got round to it. So this book will be quite a special one, I hope. I hope it will have some great meaning to somebody out there. I'm hoping that this will be a delight. And I might even get in, when the ink dries, I might even get in and put a bit of green on him. So yes, there was a whole kind of learning, and there was a whole kind of exploring. I can't remember what year this was, but I remember that it kind of coincided with Inktober, one of the Inktober's, and I had done a few kind of test drawings, really, where they might have said Halloween, and that you had to do a drawing, or riding a horse, or some kind of title, you know, killer, and I would draw the theme as the cat, as cat. So so it was a great kind of exploring. Also, that period of time was me kind of testing out the character, and I got a lovely feedback from the kind of people that were following TikTok. He was really quite a popular character. And actually it led me to meet my first kind of arty friends. The whole kind of comedy of Cat having these huge balls seemed to entertain everybody. It was so it was amazing. It was it was just, I couldn't have started off on a better character. So absolutely a gorgeous character. And so this will be one of the first ever signed Cat books, even though it's an older book. It'll be a book of wonderful memories for me. It will always have a sweet spot. I did 2 books. Well, I did 3 books basically. I did Cat with balls. Then I did frozen nuts, and then I did a Christmas Cat Kitty Cat, Kitty Cat, the Christmas special, which was it was done basically as an American edition. If I remember, we were trying to kind of break into that American market, you know. The Americans are millionaires, aren't they? So, you know, if we can break into the American market, we'll be rich. I'm saying we as me and Mr. Miro. So Kitty Cat, the Christmas edition, the Christmas special, was basically the 2 books thrown together, but with there's a few additional illustrations put into it, but it had a new chunky cover, and it was a thick book. It was lovely. Although it seemed to kind of, it didn't seem to appear in the UK, which at the time I was kind of getting into all this kind of book publishing by myself and stuff like that. So it was quite a difficult kind of world to understand about different editions in different countries and stuff like that. And it only seemed to be appear in America. But I don't even think I have a copy myself. That's how amazing it actually was, and how kind of bizarrely unique. I guess it's unique. So yeah, so Cat was my first venture into ink drawing, ink painting, and it was a very enjoyable, very enjoyable. It was really the start. I really messed that eye up, but I will try and white it out. It sometimes happen when you have a very splashy style. Sometimes it actually drops where you don't want it, but I'll touch that out, and I will also do a letter of, just so you know that it's an original and all that type of stuff. Let's just move that over. And I have this stamp that kind of makes it a little bit more kind of official feeling, you know. And I will say, the first ever signed copy. Let's get a nice big brush to do the ever, shall we? That's cool. The first ever and it's quite amazing at the how uninterested I wasn't really to sign books and stuff like that. I didn't really see at that time. It just seemed to be, why would you want a signed book when you already have the book, you know? The first ever signed copy. There you go. That should make it special, shouldn't it? That should make this a good money-making book. Yeah, get that roof fixed. And that was probably one of the reasons why I never really had a money goal before. I never really, you know, the whole idea of selling never really appealed to me. I didn't. I don't know, just it's always kind of bored me a little bit of this whole. I mean, you know, if I had an agent or something, they would probably push me more to do this type of thing. But I've never really done it. There you go. I've never really had the interest. But things change, times change, situations change, you know. So I'm hoping this will be a very special book for somebody. A very special. The first ever signed copy of Cat. But it still has a very important place in my heart. It's still a very beautiful book. And it was a book that at the time I really felt like I would probably do a lot of them. I guess it's one of those things that when you do a book and you have a lot of ideas and a lot of passion about something, and it doesn't sell as much as you hoped it would, it does kind of give you a little bit of a kick. It does kind of bring you back to this horrible place called reality. And reality is horrible. You know, if I'd have sold 10 million copies, I would be I would have continued with the book, continued with the adventure, and I had a lot of kind of planned out adventures of Cat. I've got a lot of kind of sketchbooks around with lots of plans of stories and such with Cat. And they never really came to. But, you know, you can never really tell when you're doing these. When you write a book, you come up with a concept. You're never really sure how popular it's going to be. I remember when the guy did that other cat, well, Simon's Cat. When the guy did Simon's Cat, it was kind of like he did the first kind of few episodes and nobody really watched it, and then he kind of woke up one morning and 50 million people had watched it. I was like, what? Why? What happened? What changed? What did I do? And you start to question, how did I do this? How did I, have I done something different? Did I write something different? Did I touch a bone? Did I, you know, and that's really the way it is with a lot of art. You might draw something that you're not really that kind of keen on, but for some reason people love it. And that changes direction. That changes everything, because, you know, if people are interested, then people will buy. And if people buy, then you have enough money to continue to do something. So, yeah. So we did the 3 editions of Cat and no more. He went back on the shelf and I went on to do, I can't remember what was straight after Cat. But you can see how my style has developed, and most of my style has developed from that original Cat idea, from the original Cat book, where I really feel like I learned most of everything, really. it taught me about ink. It taught me about painting. But it also told me that if people don't love something, you won't do any more of it. And that's quite, like I said, back to reality. Reality is one of those things, you know. You might love to be a singer, but if you don't sell albums, you ain't going to be a singer much longer. And so in my situation, I want to be an artist forever. And that basically comes down to the whole point that I need to, if Cat isn't the one, I need to change and do worry lips or whatever. I need to change and change and change until I click. Again, with worry lips, I would have loved for worry lips to be so popular that you're kind of doing a sequence of books, like I did with the children's books. I did a lot of kind of King Rara, and I did Little China the Panda and stuff like that. I did a lot of those. You know, a lot of those stories kind of ended up to be, you know, King Rara was like, we did 104 episodes. It worked out to be about 20 odd books. The same with the Panda. Also, we did a lot of episodes. Also, Mission E was about a little girl and her collection of animals, which I loved. One of the first things I ever wrote was Mission E. And again, we did a whole sequence of books, and with that kind of hope and wish that something would spark and there would be this interest. And so, yeah, such is life. But there you have your kind of, your letter and your book. So, so if you would like to own the first ever signed copy of Cat, and the Cat's been around for about 6 years now. But if you'd like to own the signed copy of Cat, wouldn't that be special? Would be quite special. If you're a book collector or something like that, it would be quite a fantastic piece to have. So this week we will be putting them up, and I'm hoping to raise some money. Raise some money to fix my roof. So have a fantastic day. Do come over to eBay in the next couple of days, where we will be putting these out, and you'll get a letter as well. You'll get a letter, and you get a little kind of you'll get a little stamp also on there that is basically an authentic stamp. And just to add a little bit of extra fun and extra interest, I hope, to this whole project. So you'll get your book, you'll get your signed copy with an illustration inside, and you will get your letter to say, this is an original drawn by this man here. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sharing your day with me. And there will be more of these this week. So keep watching. Keep watching. And if you did enjoy anything about this video, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Get my numbers up. Make me more seen, which is always the difficult. I'm sorry about my inky stripe. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you back here for more videos very, 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 very soon. Thank you very much. See you again.